This talk is about LLMs in security incident response, and specifically at Google. If you are not a person who's thinking a lot about security incident response, this talk may not convince you to think more about it. But I'm hoping there's going to be some interesting takeaways here for how LLMs can be applied to other parts of security and privacy as well. And when we actually talk about AI for incident response is a very complex thing, which I personally do not do at Google. And it involves lots of different pieces, lots of different teams working on parts of this, and how we're responding to all sorts of things across employee and insider risk to our cloud compromise. And we actually are just going to focus on one little piece of this. So we're not looking at LLMs across all of incident response. We're just looking at this final task that the incident responders do where they summarize the incident, what happened, what they found, and provide sort of just an output that can be used for later audits, for legal teams, for other stakeholders, for people who want to know what happened. This means our question is really, can the LLMs summarize what happened in this incident? And if you are aware or have heard about LLMs, you've heard they're really good for summarization. In fact, they do this all over the place on the web results, long documents. So could they summarize what happens in an incident response case? And we wanted to know specifically if we gave it all of that information, if we gave it access to the bug, to the incident log, to all of the things that the incident responders would have when they wrote the summary, can they output a comprehensive, factually accurate summary of what occurred? That's not a hint, it might be. So one of the things I like about this paper is we were able to do things across multiple different studies. So we have a 4-part study here. We're going to start by just comparing human written summaries to AI summaries and see which ones are better. We're going to then have our incident responders generate AI assisted summaries. We're going to look at the incident responders' attitudes towards those and having AI assistance, and then we're going to actually compare that last round of human and AI-assisted summaries. And our data set here is actual real-world incident logs. So this is 50 different logs across 5 different categories that we actually got from real Google incidents. And so we can't share all of the details of all of those, but we've abstracted some, and there's some more in the paper. And so an actual summary looks sort of like this. You don't have to read all of this. But in general, we just sort of have this, OK, there was a phishing impersonation. They tried to actually sort of impersonate this thing. They actually successfully phished it, but they didn't get any credentials from this specific phishing attack. And so it goes through some more of those details, and there may be some concerns. And that means, you can't see this at all, that there is a long sort of log of what all of this contains in terms of the incident, the servers that it might have been on, any sort of things that were included in that bug file, and this detailed activity log of what the incident responder did. And we provided all of this to the prompts that the teams were using. And so for part 1, again, we took this, OK, if you give the LLM all of the information, and you also have the human-authored summary that was the actual human-authored summary of that incident, which one does better? Obviously, they were switched up. They weren't always A versus B. And we did have the security analysts. So for all of our participants in the study, this is real people at Google whose actual job is doing security incidents. That means they're actually investigating these things and writing the summaries. So which one did they prefer? Think about this in your head before I show you, unless you've already read the paper. The humans won. So 61% of the specific summaries when they were compared the humans were outperforming the LLM summaries. So again, we have AI systems that are really built to do summaries, and they're not outperforming. So let's go into some details about why that might be. So, I broke something. There's a slide broken. So we're looking at 4 different factors here. The first one is completeness. So in completeness, we have our incident responders saying things like, the human summary provides more details around the compromised device, including the contents of the instance for reference. This information is useful and has an impact on the potential severity of the incident. So completeness was a really important feature. It was one of the top 2 that people found that the human summaries were doing better for. The second was factuality. In this quote, the AI summary makes it sound like the malware was blocked before it ever had a chance to run, and this is not the case. The first stage actually ran, the second stage was where it was denied. And so these are both places where either the humans are providing more details that people thought were relevant, or the AI is sort of making up details. And so there was these 2 big concerns. We had fewer concerns around concision and readability. There were some cases where people felt the AI system was too verbose. So for example, one security analyst said, there's 0 additional details in B. This was the second one they saw, which is the AI summary. But it's 5 times longer for no reason, right? And so it was seen that the AI systems often added a lot of fluff. They added a lot of sort of extra words that a human in these situations wouldn't add. And I have no comments for readability here because in general, the AI produced summaries were quite readable. And there were very few complaints about this. So it was really these first 2 categories, completeness and factuality, where we saw the most complaints about the AI summaries and why they didn't succeed. For part 2, we had our security analysts go back and rewrite incident responses based on something that they started with, an AI sort of summary text. In this case, which is a figure from the paper, you can see what the AI gave and the types of edits that were made. This is an example of one where there was a lot of this sort of extra text, and they felt like they needed to go through and replace a lot of it or clarify it or sometimes add identifiers. One of the things the AI systems were not particularly good at was understanding specific malware names versus package names versus cloud host names. They would get these things confused, right? And so although it would write really nice sentences, the humans would often want to add more specific details that they felt were more relevant. When we had the security analyst write these AI-assisted summaries, we again can go back to those same 2 features that we were looking at before, completeness and factuality. And for completeness, participants reported having to add additional detail to 32 of the 75 summaries that they added. And so they felt overall that they were going to have to go back and sort of do this to add completeness. And they also found factual errors. And again, this is self-report. So as they were writing these AI summaries, they also filled out a little short set of questions. And these were 2 of the features that we were asking them about because we knew from part 1 where some of the biggest concerns were going to be. And so we saw that even with the AI-assisted summaries, these same 2 concerns were coming up. This makes sense. It's the same AI model. And so sometimes the security analysts just started over. Sometimes they said things like, I wiped it and wrote my own. It was way too verbose. It was saying things like intrusions detected by Google security systems. Yeah, obviously. Or I completely replaced the summaries. I quickly found it was missing key information. But in other cases, they found they could just do minor edits. And they liked that better, right? They were able to remove one incorrect statement, or they were able to do something where they could just sort of realign things to make it better fit the ticket. And so after they did this, where they each rewrote about 15 of these AI-assisted summaries, we had them do a quick short survey after they completed the task. And again, we had 15 security analysts in this part who were doing this as their actual job. And we said, OK, now that you've gone through and you've edited these things, you saw that some you needed to fix the completeness, some you needed to fix the factuality. How did you feel about this experience overall? 2 people didn't do the survey. It's fine. They're Google engineers. They have busy stuff to do. But overall, 5 said that they thought the quality was higher with AI when they had the AI assist. 5 said it was better to just start from scratch, and they preferred that as after going through these. And 3 said it was about the same. OK, so overall here, pretty mixed views from the people who were actually doing this job. But when we did, and again, sort of their summary of this, while I feel the structure of summaries consistently can be improved by AI, the potential repercussions from a hallucination adding inaccurate fact is worrisome, right? This concern that, yeah, it added some sentences, it was pretty OK, I could fix some details, but maybe I wasn't going to go through and catch every single mistake it would make. Or if a summary reads fairly accurate to what I would write, I would use it, and if it doesn't, I would just start over, right? So the AI assist was more of like a template that they would either use or just totally clear and ignore. But for part 4, when we then had 2 other security incident responders who were not involved in looking at these go back and compare the AI-assisted summaries to the human summaries, in 77% of the cases, they liked the AI-assisted summaries better. So while the AI lost in our very first round, right, the AI cannot go and do this task completely by itself, when you have the humans and the AI working together collaboratively, those summaries actually really did outperform the original human summaries. So what can we learn from all of this and across these multiple experiments? We see promising results for the quality of AI-assisted summaries, though AI cannot do this task alone, at least not yet. And so that means that we can think about how this might be something where we could integrate LLMs into this one part of incident response, a part that we might expect, again, LLMs should be extremely good at. But we have to address these factuality concerns, right? The biggest concern continually coming up from our respondents was they didn't want to introduce errors. They thought the quality might slip over time. They thought this might not be a piece where they were able to dig in and really catch those mistakes. And some of this may get better over time. We know that we can continue to improve AI summaries by even just improving the AI models. We ran this on a pre-2.0 version of Gemini. Gemini is now at 2.5, right? The models do continue to improve, and it's possible those things would help. We go into more details in the paper about how we could potentially do specific things with fine-tuning, with models that are trained for security tasks. Again, a lot of the problems it had were on specific naming, on specific packaging, on things that were implied in the context that it just couldn't pick up on. And so this may get better over time, and we think of this as a very early step. But again, this is a task that LLM should be good at, and it still can't do it by itself. And we need to then balance the human verification with the benefits of AI. So our security incident responders were really interested in these tasks, and they wanted AI to be able to help them with it, and they thought this was a piece of their job that might work for, but they still had a lot of concerns about if even this task was something that it could do, which leads us at the end of the paper to reflect on just how AI will be used in the workplace. There have been a lot of concerns about what this means for the future of jobs. This is one small piece of what security analysts and incident responders are doing at Google. This does not replace their entire job, and as we've seen, these results don't even look super positive for just the one part that they are trying to replace. But this brings up a lot of questions about how we think about more entry-level jobs, about how we think about job satisfaction, and how we think about removing certain parts of these tasks. We had some of our security incident responders talk about how, the summary does feel like a sort of annoying bureaucratic obligation at the end, but also maybe it's important for them to do that reflection and look at what they've done across an entire incident so that they can learn and respond from that. With that, I want to thank you all for listening today, and thank you on behalf of all of my co-authors at Google who worked on this both on the privacy, safety, and security team and also trust and safety at Google. And I'm happy to take questions.